Estate planning is not just for the wealthy or for those in their golden years. Really, I can make the case that every adult should have at least some basic estate planning documents, and that's what I'm going to talk about in today's video. Debunk the myth of what estate planning is. I'm going to give you a really good resource for you to get this done online if this is something you want to try and tackle today, and then I'm just going to go over the basic estate planning documents. So hopefully, if you've just always wondered, what the heck is a will? Do I need a trust? Who's going to take care of my kids if something happens to me? I'm going to talk about that today. If you want to learn more, stick around. I'm going to put a link down below to a great website I think you should check out. And of course, if you have any questions, if you want to figure out how this fits into your financial plan, let me know. Let's connect. Let's jump into it. All right, so the 6 estate planning topics that I want to talk about today. So wills, trusts, that's number 1. I'm going to talk about durable power of attorney. That's number 2. Number 3, I want to talk about your beneficiary designations. And then number 4, I want to talk about a letter of intent. And then number 5, I want to talk about a healthcare power of attorney. And then number 6, if you have kids, I just quickly want to talk about guardian designations for your kids. Let's start with wills and trusts. So, what is a will? Just simply put, a will is a document that states your wishes for where you want your stuff to go. You've got assets, you've got accounts, maybe you own a home. The will, it simply just states who gets what. This can be done with a trust, and depending on what state you live in, you may or may not need a trust. I'm talking about California. The probate is different in every state. If you do live in California, you probably want to look into getting a trust. But here in Washington State, a will, for the most part, is going to take care of it. And this is something that, of course, you want to coordinate with your spouse. If you're married, the most important thing is if you have a will and you're listing different people to receive assets, it's always nice to let them know. But that's something that you want to at least talk about with your friends and family. So number 1, wills. Now let's talk about the durable power of attorney. If for whatever reason you can't make decisions and you need someone else to make those decisions on your behalf, that's what the power of attorney does. It just gives power to someone to pay your bills or to check on your bank account. These are things that are really important, and of course you want to make sure you trust whoever you list as your power of attorney, but it's extremely important if you're ever incapacitated and for whatever reason you can't make a decision, this is why you have the power of attorney. You've got someone to set up to make those decisions on your behalf. So number 2, power of attorney. Let's talk beneficiary designations. This is something that actually isn't a document that you create with your estate plan, but when you're filling out maybe the beneficiaries on your 401k, or maybe you have an IRA. Those retirement accounts where you have to list a beneficiary. You want to make sure, number 1, you've got the right beneficiaries listed. And then number 2, if you're writing a will, you want to make sure that whoever's listed in the will matches up to your beneficiary designations. You don't want to have this thing where maybe you listed a sibling in your will, but then you listed a cousin for your beneficiary designations. And that's where it just gets complicated whenever we're trying to figure out who gets what. When you're coordinating, you got to make sure that, again, you should communicate with the people, but at least make sure it matches up to whatever's in your will. What I want to talk about is letter of intent. I mentioned the will earlier. A will explains who gets what, but it doesn't explain why. It's really nice from an estate planning perspective just to write out a letter that states who gets what and then why do they get it. This is something that maybe is that extra step, but it's something I really encourage everyone doing because, when you're dealing with families that just lost a loved one and the assets are being divided and maybe there's an heirloom that's been passed down from generation to generation. Sometimes the heirs, they don't know why they received it, or maybe they wanted something but they didn't get it and they're just kind of questioning it. A letter of intent is a really nice touch. I encourage everyone to do this in their estate planning, but this is something that kind of goes above and beyond the minimum. Again, I think your will or maybe a trust plus some powers of attorney and a healthcare directive, that's at least the big 3 that you want to take care of. A letter of intent is just a great way to go that extra mile. Right, now let's talk about the healthcare power of attorney. This is, if you're ever in the hospital and again, you can't make decisions, you need to have a healthcare power of attorney set up. This is different than the durable power of attorney. Typically, the durable power of attorney, think of it as different ways to make sure that someone can make decisions for your financial resources. But you also need to have something in place if something happens to you, you're in the hospital, someone needs to make some decisions concerning your health, you've got to have that listed out as well. And then the last thing I just quickly want to talk about is guardianship designation. If you have young children, you got to make sure that you've got somebody designated to be the guardian if something happens to you. Obviously, this is something you need to talk with your spouse if you're married, and then of course you need to talk with the people that you're listing as those potential future guardians. This is something that you can't just ignore. If God forbid something were to happen to you, you need to make sure that you've got somebody listed to take care of the kids, because it can become a nightmare if nobody's listed in your estate plan. maybe family members are trying to figure it out after the fact, and it's just so much more helpful if you have that written out. So guardianship designations are really important, especially if you have young children. For a really easy, simple way to get an estate plan put together, completely online and from the comfort of your own home. I know in today's world, going to an office, going to meet with an attorney, you know, maybe that's just not going to work for you, but you still have this on your checklist. Getting your estate plan taken care of is something that, again, you know, it gets put on the back burner. It's definitely something that you don't think about all the time unless you're a financial advisor. So I'm going to give you a resource for a website. It's called trustandwill.com. I'm going to put a link in the description so that you can take a look at the website. If you use the link that is in the description, you get 10% off the estate planning fee. And of course, I just want to make a point. I am not sponsored by trustandwill.com. I just think it's a great service, and I want to make sure that everyone is aware of it. I hope you're having a good day. I hope this is helpful. I hope if you have any questions, you don't hesitate to reach out. Again, I think that website, trustandwill.com, is a great place to get started. At least see if this is something that you can tackle yourself. If you want to learn how this fits into your plan, don't hesitate to reach out. Send me a message, put a comment down below. I'm happy to talk through how an estate plan ties into your financial plan. Again, my name is Alan Hensley. I'm a financial advisor here in Seattle, Washington. Hope you're having a great day. Thanks.